I'm Kevin Shaw, and you're watching the Watercraft Journal. It's about 6:30 here in the morning on the Cumberland River. We're watching the sun come up over the tree line, and we're here at the base of the Old Hickory Dam. What we're planning on accomplishing today is pushing ourselves and our watercraft, a 2020 Kawasaki STX 160LX, further than we've ever been, a total of 500 total miles. Our route today will take us here from the Old Hickory Dam, all the way past downtown Nashville, through the Cheatham Dam, into Kentucky, and all the way to Paris Landing back in Tennessee. Then from Paris Landing, we're going to turn right around and head all the way back, hopefully making it back here before sunset. The reason we chose the 2020 Kawasaki STX 160LX primarily is because of its ginormous 20.5 gallon fuel cell. That total fuel capacity of just over 40 gallons should give us plenty of fuel to get us all the way to our first destination, the Green Turtle Resort. There, we're going to top off our tanks and make it down to Paris. We'll splash a little gas into the fuel tanks there and turn right around, making it to Barkley Lake Marina. At Barkley Lake, we're going to fill up again and make it through Cheatham Dam. From Cheatham Dam, it's a straight shot back here. At going full throttle all the way, averaging about 58 miles per hour, we're equating for about 10 hours of ride time. You throw in fuel stops and going through the dams, we figure that's an extra 2 hours, so a total of 12 riding hours. We're going to give you plenty of scenic shots along our way. We're going to stop in and check in as our progress continues, and we're definitely going to walk you around our setup so that you can get a good glimpse of what it takes to accomplish a ride like this yourself.
So why on earth would I even attempt this? There's really no standing record to break, and since I'm doing this completely by myself, there's really no glory or bragging rights either. Instead, it's truly to put this experimental auxiliary fuel system through its final testing. I figure setting a personal distance record in one day is a surefire way to prove whether this setup that I've been working on is the real deal. Without going too far into how it works, that's coming up a little later in this video. This setup, without the Rotopax cans, can provide an additional 13 or so gallons without having to cut or drill into the ski at all.
Okay, we're here in Cheatham Dam. First lock of the day. It is just before 8 o'clock. So we did okay. We came into some barge traffic. And boy, those barges, those barges really chew up the river, especially when you're the only one out there. And they kick up quite a bit of wake. That and with all the weight that we've got on the back of the ski, it likes to porpoise. The biggest thing we've encountered, as you might see all over my face and my arms and my chest, are all the bugs. Thankfully, we had a Hoo-Rag, and I've been using that. I'm sure Sea-Doo might like the me using a Sea-Doo Hoo-Rag from the Fish Pro while I'm riding my Kawasaki. So anyway, so far so good. We're doing all right. Now we've been averaging about, before we stopped, we were averaging about 53, 54 miles per hour. That moving average also includes how much time we've spent here in the lock. All right, we're on our way out. And we're on to Green Turtle. We're gonna try to make it to the Green Turtle Marina. And That's going to be about 100 miles away. We might not make it, seeing that our gas tank is almost already empty. So if not, we can always cut it close and go to the Barkley Marina instead. All right, here we go.
West of Cheatham Dam is pretty much unbroken, smooth sailing all the way to Barkley Lake, which is about an hour and a half downriver. Like I said before, I'm keeping the Kawasaki pinned to its throttle stop the whole time, both because of time and to measure the ski's fuel consumption. Thus far, I've managed a maximum top speed of a hair just under 60 miles per hour, although the speedometer and the dashboard would have us believing that we're running 65. The paddle wheel gauges were never all that accurate. I'm also keeping the cruise control off since I'm running into so many barges, and smartly throttling past them to maintain speed and not launch myself over the bars takes a little more finesse. Right now, I'm calculating about 5.5 miles per gallon at wide open throttle, which is on par with what I planned for. Doing a little mental arithmetic, I'm thinking I can push past the fuel stop that I had planned at Green Turtle Bay Resort and push all the way to Paris Landing.
So like I said earlier, the original plan was to stop off and refuel at the Green Turtle Resort, and that's at the top of the lane between the lakes here in Kentucky. Well, I was looking at my mileage, I was weighing things out, did a little bit of bad calculus, and thought, oh, I can make it all the way down to Paris with my extra jerry cans. Well, I got about 205 miles and realized I was really out of gas. So thankfully, we stopped here at Leonard's Resort and we filled up. We took 39 gallons and cost us about $146. But we're all filled up. We're going to go to Paris Landing. That's our turnaround point. So we're all gassed up, and we're going to head back. And our two choices for refueling on the way back, because we're not going to push our luck, is either Barkley Marina or just before Cheatham. We're still riding great. Our rack system is working awesome. I'm going to give you a little bit of a walk around real quick of what we got going on here, and then I'm going to get back on the ski and head out. It's about 11:15, and still got a long ways to go. We haven't hit the halfway point yet. What we developed here at the Watercraft Journal was a very basic siphon system that naturally empties the auxiliary tank using the factory vent line that's in the tank, so that it naturally, as the fuel pump creates suction, that vacuum empties our auxiliary tank through this fuel line. And this tank has a breather here, and this breather allows for air to come in to replace the outgoing fuel, and this, when it's empty, acts as a very large air box to vent the tank. It's a very natural system, doesn't interrupt any of the pressurized fuel lines. It has a nice barb on here, so it's not even going to move. You can't even pull it off. You have to cut that off to get the hose off the barb. So this system actually is really plug and play. It takes about 8 to 10 minutes to install. And believe it or not, we're actually developing it through the Watercraft Journal to sell in our store. And it works with all open circuit fuel systems. So all Yamahas, supercharged and naturally aspirated, all Kawasaki's, and they're also supercharged or naturally aspirated, same tanks. And then all Sea-Doos that are using a vent line. And unfortunately, that is all the GTIs prior to 2011 and all of the T3 hull 3-seaters, so that'd be your RXT, your RXTX, your GTX, and those are 2010 and up. So before 2010, that system will work on those, and we're working on a kit for those Sea-Doos. We'll have more information on the magazine. But again, here's our rough and ugly setup, but it's been treating us well, and we're gonna keep on trucking along. All right, we made it. Paris landing, 221 miles with a couple extra miles added on, looking for emergency fuel. So it's definitely 220 miles. We're gonna take a quick break, get a drink, and turn right around because daylight's burning, and it is 11:45. So it took, oh my goodness. Yeah, it took about 5 hours. So yeah, not too bad. Pretty excited. We'll keep going, keep trucking, not stop.
Considering that a gallon of gas weighs 6 pounds, I've got roughly 140 pounds of extra weight on the back of my ski. And without trim control to force the nose down, I'm finding that the only way to keep the Kawasaki from porpoising is to stand up and lean as far forward over the bars as I can. But this doesn't do any bit of good now because Hurricane Hannah has worked its way up from the Gulf of Mexico and is starting to make its way, now as a tropical storm, into Tennessee. Those gray skies and high winds whipping the trees is what's churning the Tennessee River into a choppy nightmare. It took about 40 minutes of brutal riding to reach the opening of Barkley Canal, and frankly all of my patience, but the way back should be pretty smooth sailing from here on out. Learning from my severely overconfident calculations earlier, I'm going to splash a few gallons of gas into the rear tank at Clarksville Marina. The belly tank is about 3/4 full, so an extra 2 to 3 gallons will provide me all I need to make it home with fuel to spare.
Well, that's twice today that I've had the lock to myself. I had to wait for a big old barge to come through. So just waiting to go up another 25 feet. And then I've got about 65 miles left to head home. So it's been a good day. We had a couple miscalculations just when it came to fuel, but that's understandable, especially when it's a 440 mile ride. And the Cowie's been great. It's done really well. We've been averaging about 5.5 miles per gallon. And right now we're just waiting for the water level to rise up. So it's been a good experiment today. Well, we did it. It was just a hair over 440 miles, and that's only because I made a few errors. It is a 440 mile loop, and it can be done in about 10 to 10.5 hours. I think it's a heck of an endurance race. I think it's a heck of an endurance ride. I'm excited to try to get people to join me on this ride either later this year or next year. But the Cowie held up. We didn't have any trouble. Didn't do anything weird. Obviously, the STX does not like 140 pounds of fuel on the back. Gets a little tippy Gets a little unsteady, but once it drains that main auxiliary tank, evens out, rides great, happy camper. Learned a couple lessons. Lesson number one is if you're going to refuel using the jerry cans, you can see that I'm covered in bugs, by the way. We had more bugs on the way back. If you're going to refill your jerry cans, don't pour it into the auxiliary tank, pour it into the main tank. The auxiliary tank, well, the main tank needs to have fuel in there in order to create a mechanical vacuum. And if that tank is empty, then there's plenty of air in there, and that fuel pump, A, is not cooling itself with fuel, and it needs to cool itself with fuel. And B, it's not going to siphon that rear tank. So that was a lesson. We had to do that. Other than that, that was really the lesson learned. There are 8 bars on the fuel gauge on the Cowie. Every bar equates to 2.5 gallons. So that is kind of the rule of thumb when it comes to refueling this ski. By the way, you're really not gonna hear any of your music at full throttle. At 58, 59 miles an hour, you're maybe hearing a little bit of the drum beat. You're barely hearing stuff. So after a while, I just turned the radio off because it wasn't really worth it. Other than that, really good setup, operated well. Obviously, I do wish there was an electronic trim. Woo, boy, if ever a ski needed electronic trim, it's gonna be that guy. Especially because at acceleration, you really want to get the weight and the bow down. So I literally double over the bars and lean over the bars just to get weight over the bars, because it just porpoises really, really bad. Look at the bugs on this stupid life vest. Holy cow, I am covered in bugs. Let's look at oh yeah, my wave riders, totally covered in bugs too. Well, anyhow, really when it comes to long distance riding, when it comes to an endurance style ride, this setup and this ski with the 20-gallon tank is just a home run. I'm curious to see what a Yamaha FXHO or a VXHO, seeing that they both have an 18.5-gallon tank and they have really good fuel mileage. And I'd love to see how they do with this setup, because this setup would literally bolt right on in 8 minutes with no problem. So that's really cool, pretty exciting for that. I didn't need any of my tools. I did have 2 camera mounts break, but didn't lose any cameras, so that's good. Guys, I'm Kevin Shaw. Thanks for watching the Watercraft Journal. If you like videos like these, you want to see more, please subscribe. Please like this video. Please leave a comment. Share it with your friends. It definitely helps. We definitely want to grow the magazine. We definitely want to grow the channel. And also, speaking of the magazine, if you want to see more articles, more details on rides like this, on skis like this, on equipment I'm wearing, on a whole bunch of other stuff, race coverage, make sure to check us out Monday through Friday at www.watercraftjournal.com. And we update articles every day. We publish every day, Monday through Friday, entirely subscription free to you. All right, guys, thanks again. Talk to you soon.